Destination mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here. Welcome to the 7th episode of the Bandicast. Got an awesome guest today. He's the co-manager, writer, and video editor for Crashing News' YouTube channel. And on there you can hear him as the narrator in the hands-on impressions video of the demo. Awesome guy, super awesome Crash and Spyro fan. If you've seen his, you see his icon here and his name. He's got the best of both worlds. With me I have WumpaGem. What is up?
Hey, how's it going? Did you get it? It was a. I was doing an impression of Jack Black, like in that Sesame Street video, like with Elmo that holds the stop sign. Stop!
Oh, oh for our scene test. It was awesome. So how you doing today? How's life going?
Well, it's going pretty fine. I just got on my first day of graphic design internship in a little company because that's what I've been graduated into graphic design.
Graphic design, yeah, that's freaking awesome. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in the DMs, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got a series of questions for you. Everyone who's already listened to previous episodes of the Bandicast already know these questions, but we'll see where your answers take us on this episode. So without further ado, my first question is, what is your history with Crash? When did you first get into the series, and what was the first Crash game you ever played?
Well, where did it all begin? Honestly, I cannot give like a precise date or give exactly what age I was when I was first introduced to Crash. I guess it really tells you how far it goes. I believe I was just a little toddler. Maybe it's 1999 or 2000 or 2001. I was born in March 1997.
Nice.
Well, that sits you well where it all began. So, I have this vaguest memory. It's just like our bedroom that I shared with my big brother. My little brother wasn't born at that point yet. It was like this little CRT TV, and on top there was the PS1, like the original model PS1 before they did the slim line with the whiter gray color that I think is pretty nice. And like it was like this at that time it was like the really gray brick. And I remember like free games that stood upon me on the ground. I believe was the first free games I ever discovered on my console. It was Spyro 1, which is the only Spyro game I experienced in my childhood. Like besides Enter the Dragonfly, I only discovered the rest of the original trilogy around 2015 thanks to the PS1 classics you can find on the PS3. So yeah, Spyro 1, Rayman 1, and Crash 2.
Sweet. Cool. So Crash 2 was your first one then?
Yeah, I still remember like popping in like into the PS1 and hearing the startup, then hearing like the glorious theme song while like you have Crash flying around on its little jet. I think jetpack. Yeah, I don't know why I stumbled there. Yeah, flying around in his little jetpack, like crashing into like the text and the logos, like, and again like the masterful theme song. It's actually my favorite theme song across the trilogy. A lot of like people like to quote the first game or the third game specifically. Like the third game had a lot of remixes, like the most well known.
Yep.
But I don't think there's enough love for 2. Maybe there are plenty of love, but it's not brought up as much as far as my perspective goes.
Yeah. Yeah, because 2's is like a semi-remix of the first one, but it still like does its own thing, and it has its own like sound and feel. So it's different enough that it's making you go like, oh yeah, this is different. It's like familiar but different. It's the second game.
Yeah, you could say that Crash 2 is pretty much like a much more refined version of the formula that Crash 1 set up. It's much less frustrating, like in completion route was more accessible. Accessible is it got a lot of there's a lot of settings that reminiscent of the first game. Like it takes like settings you're already seen in the first game while mixing a few that you didn't see yet, like those snow areas. It introduced a lot of iconic characters. Like it's the first time we saw like Coco. It's the first time we saw Tiny. It's the first time we saw Polar. It's the first time we saw Engine. It introduced a lot of mainstays that stayed a lot longer than anybody in Crash 1 actually. Like
Yeah.
yeah. One extra fun fact about like me, like Crash 2 and me as a little kid, like when I was like after like I saw my first game over screen, like you had like Cortex saying, like it pops out, it says game over. Like it somehow stuck to me to the point like when I was trying to go to bed, like when I was supposed to sleep, but I keep my eye open, and I have this like possible scenario in my mind where like one of the TV could go on, and suddenly when it turns on, like you see Cortex, like the face, like that game over screen of Cortex, that it could like get out. If it wasn't that, it was like that weird symbol, like if it was some purple circle with just a smile, it was really creepy. What I'm referring to is like, well, I don't think anyone would be familiar with, but there was a time like Disney, they released like educational tapes for a little shitter that taught English. Like it would mixes like clips of various Disney movies and have it in English, like, and you have a narrator that go word by word. It would say stuff like, "Hi, how are you?"
Mm-hmm.
"Fine, thank you." Yeah, like very simple verbs or words, but you have little interludes, interludes when they ask you like it's your turn to respond, or it's your turn to sing, but the interlude like were super loud. It was like, and sometimes you had that purple like circle with a smile like that pops out. It was really creepy. If it wasn't Cortex, it was that. Yeah, but I think I went a little off subject, but yeah.
Well, which would you rather see pop up on the TV randomly at night? The game over screen of Cortex from 2, or the generator room screens where he's just like staring into the camera?
What? The generator room?
Yeah, from the first game. Do you remember the monitors?
Yeah. The monitor, like Cortex screen, hello, like in a Kelly video, like he does that. Somehow he missing that, and yeah, I guess I find it a little more creepy because he doesn't emote. It was like just flover like that. Yeah, I guess I would be a little bit more scared of that as a kid. But I don't think I went that far in Crash 1. I don't think I went that far in any game. I was a really stupid kid. Like I had this tendencies, instead of picking up on the old save, I actually did new game every single time. Like the concept of passwords or save games that didn't cross in my mind, so I always did new game. And sometimes I would like save over a save file, and my big brother always hated that. Like he had for longest time this little grudge for me, like removing its save files on CTR.
Well, how far would he get?
I honestly don't really know. I don't believe he went to like 100%. He just did the campaign just like that. That he was just like 3 years apart. He's just 3 years apart from me, so he was also second toddler. He was in kindergarten at that point. Yeah.
I was gonna say, because the further he gets, the understandably more pissed he would get if you deleted the save file.
Yeah.
So Crash 2 was the first one, which is super cool. That is a lot of people's answer, and Crash 2 does tend to be like the favorite, for the most part. So with that in mind, the second question I have is, in fact, which Crash game out of the whole series is your favorite, and what are your favorite aspects about that game?
I guess at that point in time, it's about time. I think at that point in time, I guess I would have to. That would. I think that would be like the exact same answer I gave to the first question.
Okay, yeah, no, that's perfectly that's valid. Yeah. So Crash 2.
Yeah. Then it
So
would be.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, what part of Crash 2? What parts of Crash 2 do you like?
I think is because it's a bit more focused than Warped. Warped is a close favorite of mine, but I would kind of agree. No, I don't think I would agree there's too much vehicle levels, but there's certainly a lot more there. And I think I prefer Crash 2 because it's a bit more focused on the actual platforming.
Yeah.
Like, and when you take out the time trials, like the time trials in Warped, naturally that will make Crash 2 like a bit more challenging. Like Crash 2 is more challenging like when you go for the crystals and gems that you would in Warped, which I believe is more accessible. I think that's I think so. What's one part of why people would claim that Warped is their favorite? If Warped is just favorite, it's great by me, like absolute favorite, great. It's also my second favorite, but I think Crash 2 is a little bit on top, and like yeah, there's that, and like all the reason I listed below, it's pretty much like a bit of this sentimental like connection. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is. It begins with an N, but I don't really like to use that word. I think but it starts with an N. I think I think the word is nostalgia.
Oh boy. Nostalgia drives a lot of things, and that can be both good and bad in certain situations.
Yeah, I guess that depends on the situations.
Yeah.
Regarding nostalgia, like I like to think that the things when when something I enjoy like way back in the past and I still enjoy as much now, like it's I actually mean it. Like it actually stands like like what yeah. Let me begin again, but I think you're gonna get it. Like I like to think that things that I used to enjoy, like in the past, like way back in the past, and if I still enjoy them as much now, it actually counts. Like it actually stands rather than me be blinded. I actually would like to think that because there's also plenty of things I used to enjoy a lot as a kid, but when I look back, I was like, did I actually used to enjoy this? Like, one fact, I was kind of obsessed with Son of the Mask. Like, I hear lots of people say they hate Son of the Mask, and nowadays I totally see why they're so. But me, little 8-year-old me, didn't care. I just loved that movie. Like all the funny slapstick, like this low key character, like it was played on Alan Cumming. I enjoyed it because even it didn't have Jim Carrey because naturally, I wanted to see that movie in theaters because I saw that poster with the mask and I remember that mask with Jim Carrey and I wanted to see it. And what I'm bringing that, I don't actually mind too much that Jim Carrey couldn't make it for a Mask sequel because, like, when you take a little bit in the history, you realize like the Mask is actually based on the comic book, and the comic book, the host would constantly change. In fact, like Stanley Ipkiss, like the comic version, it would die very early in the story.
Yeah.
It would constantly change also, like it would go like to this cop character, I forgot his name, and before that it would go to his girlfriend, and then it would go to one of the mobsters, and then it would go like to this little girl that would go to a Halloween party. It changed constantly, so having someone else take the hand won't be it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that Jamie Kennedy doesn't have that any kind of charisma. And you can see in some parts when they try to recapture some aspects of the movie, like the dog, it's exactly the same race. It's a beagle,
Yeah.
but it's a different one.
The funny thing too, actually, is that in the realm of the movies, there was supposed to be a Mask 2 with Jim Carrey because he was promoting it for a while there. And I think it ended up in one of the magazines too.
Yeah, I know. Like the plenty of people brought it up, like the Angry Video Game Nerd. There was that context in like the Nintendo Power magazine.
Yeah.
Like you could be you could have a little cameo in the Mask too. And I think when it didn't happen, like the kid who won the contest, he had a little compensation. I think it was like a cash money or compensation on THQ published games, because that was THQ that published like the Super Nintendo game based on the Mask. I think.
I don't know either. Well, I also want to add really quickly that I do sort of like Son of the Mask. I remember watching it a lot as a kid, and that was after watching the first Mask movie as well, which I really liked. But I only had that one. I had the first one on VHS only. I never got it on DVD. So when I found out there was a second one, we got that. We watched it. It was pretty funny. But yeah, I understand why people don't like it. It's a guilty pleasure. I think it's whatever. But yeah, so back to Crash. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, then again, it was a long time. I haven't seen it. I'm a little scared.
So I go back and revisit it again?
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Crash. So with your favorite in mind, which Crash game is your least favorite, and what don't you like about that game?
My least favorite, the one that comes to mind. Well, I would say from like my personal collection I have right now, because I have all the home console Crash game. Yeah, I think it would have to go to Tag Team Racing.
Okay.
Like I know this game has a lot of fans. I do think there's a bit of salvageable. There's a little bit of this game that's salvaged, because for one, it's the game that introduced Jess Arnold as Crash, like the voice of Crash, which I love.
Yep.
And there's a little funny dialogue, like really quotable dialogue, like chicken stew, like the nonsense that Engine says, Cortex, etc. And I think it's a like the idea of having like the hub area to access all the different like tracks and arenas be a platformer one. I think this idea is a little neat. Even though I would argue that maybe if you were in the vehicle, that would incentivize you to like learn the controls of the vehicle before you go to a natural race.
Yeah.
But everything else is just no, like the layout, not necessarily how the racetracks look like the scenery, but like the layout of the tracks, they're just bland. It's just horrifically bland. There's nothing happening. Like it's clearly not a racing game where you actually race, where you do drift to pick up speed, or you do hard turns. It's not about that at all. It's all about that, that like combat like a car. It's all about a car combat. You shoot like all the other racers, but it's I don't think it was that compelling to me. And there's all I heard a lot of people that it's really exploitable, that it's really exploitable mechanic, like
Uh-huh.
like engine is very OP, like you could destroy
Yep.
every single racer, like every single racer, that nobody gets in your way, and then right before the race finishes, like you get out of him, and boom, you win the race. And that really couples like how bland the racetracks really goes there. And then and it goes to the fact you don't have to go to every track, because there are plenty of objectives outside of the races, where you collect crystals in the odd world, and that serves you like to reach the gem and move to the next area. Sometimes you don't even need like to do, or you barely need to do any race. Sometimes the crystals you just have to do like, I know there's multiple timer race you can say on the one track, like the adventure mode is poorly structured, and it doesn't really incentivize you to like unlock the cars or visit as many tracks as you would. Yeah, and yeah, yeah. I did try to give it a try recently, and I just really didn't care for that. Like, I visited the hub, I did one race, I completed like the first hub of getting the fur gem, and I put it down back on the shelf, and I never looked back at it again. It's just, it doesn't grip me in any way.
I can understand that. Yeah, I just definitely see what you're saying. How the whole just concept of tag team racing was very new for the Crash series, and the fact that it plays and feels very different from the previous two games before it. And I mean, obviously, as a lot of people like to say, Nitro Kart was way too similar to to team racing. So tag team racing, like, just completely goes in a different direction from those two games. And while I for one can definitely, because I do like tag team racing, it's not like a favorite, but it's one that I really really enjoy playing whenever I return to it. I do like the new concepts and stuff like that, but how they implemented them could have been a lot more clever, a lot more cleaner. The controls could feel a lot more better, because people are going to think you can power slide and you can't. You just drift slowly off to the side, and the physics are very more kind of like quote unquote real, or they kind of ragdoll everywhere, because when you're going off of a like a big ramp or something, a big jump, you can definitely feel that it's
The weight.
the way, and how like you kind of teeter as you hover in midair, and then you kind of slam down. It's very different from the other racing games, and yeah, the classic mechanic is broken if you're the right person, if you're the right character, engine, and um. Yeah, I've seen that game busted apart. I've seen newcomers try their hand at it. It's got great concepts. I personally do also love that you do get around by platforming. That was actually really cool. They were trying to balance, some classic Crash stuff for the most part with the new racing stuff and all that. And I think it
I
worked.
wouldn't be,
Like, huh?
I wouldn't be surprised like they implement. Now that I'm thinking about it, I wouldn't be surprised if they implemented like the platforming hub in tag team racing, like as some sort of exercise for how a platforming Crash game would be, how we could handle it. Because at the end of the day, they will be given the reins over the next mainline game, which will become Times. But
Yeah.
even then, it's very different in structure from any other Crash game, just like tag team racing, where it's pretty much a beat 'em up. Like the platforming bits are pretty light. It's mainly a beat 'em up. When you go to a section like a small arena, you have to beat up enemies before you can move on to the next one to the next area because the score is blocking it in a way. It's clearly structured like that. But as my opinions on Titans and Man of a Mutant have very mellowed over the years, even though I don't dig them either, is definitely executed a lot better than Tag Team Racing, in my opinion. If I were to revisit them again, and I did revisit them recently, I wouldn't have any problem to go all the way to the end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I love Titans and Man of a Mutant. Those are really well structured games, and I think you are right. There could be some of that in there where they were inspired to do some platforming in Tag Team to not only set them up for whenever they were going to do the next game, but just to get themselves like, okay, well, we want to add in some of that classic Crash flair, but then also it's going to help us for because that's something I've been wondering, like, how many people is it the exact same team of people who did Titans that did Tag Team, or I wonder how many other people came in who knew like the combat stuff and how to program that and like all of that business. I don't know, but it's really interesting to think about.
I think it may be a little slanderous to say about the radical employees, like the radical like programmers, developers. Yeah, like it's maybe slanderous to say what I would have to say, like because I know they're very cool people, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went with that beat 'em up formula simply because that's the thing they knew how to do best, because they did the whole games. I actually did grow up with the 2003 Hulk game on PS2. I actually grew up with that one. There was another game that was based on the 2003 movie with Eric Bana. I haven't seen that movie in a long while. I don't remember much about it, but I do remember a lot of the game, and I know that I really enjoyed it. I can definitely say that it's a good game that I enjoy. Yeah, I revisited it recently. I didn't go that far, like on that more recent revisiting. But from what I played, I still enjoyed it somewhat. You get what I mean. Like they made Crash fit into that beat 'em up formula because beat 'em up is what they knew how to do best at the time. That or GTA clones, like with Hit and Run and Scarface.
Yeah. That could. I mean, we aren't too like. You can see that you can look up interviews and stuff where they describe like, okay, this is what we wanted to do with Crash and all of that. That could be one of the reasons. When you're known for doing one thing, it would benefit when you're doing something else. You kind of translate it over to like what you know. That's. I think that's kind of a given when you're working on something for the most part. But then you can also like do different things and still, make some great games out of different genres and stuff like Rare. Back in the Nintendo heyday, they had many games of different genres. So they just tried hopping around different play styles, different characters, different worlds. And they were like all hits back on the N64 and all that. But with Radical, yeah. If that was what they were mainly known for, was beat 'em up adventure style games, I think translating Crash over to that was still a pretty good move in terms of the progression of the series, and also the fact that it just seemed to work with Crash's style. There was still platforming, you were still spinning around, you were still breaking crates. It just wasn't the main focus. But what the focus?
I don't think there was crates in Titans. If I was in Man of the Mutants, there were crates. Yeah, like in Titans, there were plenty. Yeah, I can definitely say there were a lot of breakable objects in Titans. I mainly remember the plants and you could, like a lot of the furniture, but I think I remember more the crates in any of the Titans game, more in Man of the Mutant than Titans. Regardless of if I'm wrong or not, I think we can agree that they're a lot more common in Titans. Not Titans. I mean, Man of a Mutant. They were a lot more common there.
They definitely were. I still do remember. I mean, there were steel, like not steel crates like the way we know them in other Crash games, but there were like these kind of more metallic crates you could bust open, because you could get either Mojo or Wumpa Fruit out of them. So Wumpa Fruit were still there. They just, instead of collecting a bunch of them, they would just replenish your health. So certain things were still added in and kept intact for as far as Crash goes, like what makes Crash Crash. But yeah, Titans was the one that like kept a lot the same but did a lot different. Mind Over Mutant, they took some fan feedback into consideration. I remember that very clearly because people were wanting to play as Coco again after Wrath of Cortex, so they added her in. People wanted to see Brio come back after Twinsanity, so they added him back in as a main villain. You look closely at how Mind Over Mutant works, and you'll see that there's mind control, which is definitely a very old school kind of Crash concept with the mutants and everything. TNTs make a return after Twinsanity, which is really cool because they work the same as those detonator crates in Titans. They look kind of the same, they function the same, but while they were just these bland kind of crates in Titans, they reskinned them as TNTs in Mind Over Mutant. So there's a lot that they brought back and took, like the digging wasn't seen after Crash 2, and they brought it back for Mind Over Mutant. So there's a lot of stuff that they added in that was classic Crash stuff, but a lot of people, when they criticize these two games, they don't see that. They just they like to be like, it's too different, therefore, and the characters suck because they look and sound and act different, so therefore it's not my Crash game. And
the only bad character in the Titans era was their interpretation of Tiny. It was practically like a whole different race. Tiny is supposed to be a Tasmanian devil, but like in Titans they made it like a Bengala tiger, like a with stripes, like the most common like view you would have of a tiger, like just tiger. Though you would think like the Bengala tiger with the stripes from Africa or Asia, but not the Tasmanian devil, which isn't even a feline. It's a canine actually. Well, yeah, that kind of tells a lot how far they went with Tiny.
Yeah,
but yeah, I would give a lot of defense for the other characters, like regardless of how they were redesigned. I don't think they went too far on how they were characterized, at least as far as Twins, as the last entry, that was Twinsanity, because I know they reinterpreted the Cortex as a more flamboyant character than he was before, and that was kind of kept that way in the Titans era.
Yep. Different people, different characters were interpreted in different ways. Like the two that changed the most, just appearance, personality, was Uka Uka and Tiny. Which I didn't have a problem with it when I first saw the character designs when I was way younger. So like I remember when I started using the internet and stuff, Titans was one of the first ones where I was like actively looking to see when a new Crash game was coming out. So I remember finding out about Tag Team Racing around that time, and I saw the commercials on TV. But for Titans, I saw on Wikipedia down at the bottom where you got all the links to the different Crash games and stuff. You can check out those pages. Every time I would look and try and find a new one there, I would know that if there was a new one, that's a new game basically. And I saw Titans, it said like Crash of the Titans, and I was like, what is that? And I clicked on it, and I saw all the redesigns, and I was just like, whoa, this is different, but it's awesome. Like, I guess I was that impressionable as a kid, and I just, like, to a certain degree, changes didn't hugely affect me in that, like, intensive a way as everyone else got affected. For me, I liked the redesigns. But now that I'm looking at it again when I'm older, And it's not a nostalgic thing. It's not a classic Crash fan thing. It's just my preference that, yeah, Tiny's reinterpretation was very weird because in everything else, he's, the big dumb brute who's just this big strong guy. And he's still a big strong guy in Titans, but they, made him just a Mike Tyson parody and all that stuff. And it's okay. It's funny, but he's not that interpretation isn't my favorite. I do like his look, though. I know that it's really weird, too, how, yeah, they just completely changed his species of tiger, but I actually like the look. The voice and the personality are kind of whatever, but
Yeah, it's a shame, by the way, like half of the boss battles in Titans, you don't actually face off the characters. It's pretty much a gauntlet of bosses. Yeah, that's another thing I don't like about Titans. Half of the boss battle sucks. They're pretty much just gauntlets. The only actual boss characters, at least as far as I remember, and I do remember most of it. Try to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it goes like this. It goes like Cortex, like I believe the Octopus. There's Tiny.
Yeah.
There's Engine. There's Uka Uka, like you get hits in the Evolvo Ray, and yeah. I now kind of remember it was kind of a bit bullshit. It was a bit bullshit. A lot of people say it was kind of really frustrating.
That was a hard fight. Yeah.
Yeah, but I would say about Uka Uka, it was like the first actual boss, like you actually face him. And then there's the final boss with Nina, and actually you actually face her in the spider bot. Like she actually controls the spider bot. Like, I think 60% of the bosses sucks in Titans.
Well, because the only ones you directly have to beat up and that you face off with, Cortex, sort of. I mean, you have to destroy the pillars that he's standing on. Tiny, is just jack a bunch of Titans and go over to it. Walk to him. That's basically the boss fight. Engine is... Huh?
Wait, I think he just walks away, and when you reach him, he's like, "No, please, don't hurt me."
Yeah. And for Engine, you don't do anything like to him. You just kind of beat up the Titans that he sends out after you, and then Uka Uka's and Nina's were the ones that really felt like boss battles. And funny enough, those are the hardest ones, and they're like the last two. I kind of wish that Uka Uka actually like attacked you directly, because he'll send off like range attacks after you, and you have to just jack a bunch of Titans that are bigger and bigger to get up to him, and then you can take control of him. But
I think that was that. It was the handling like the projectiles that Uka Uka was throwing at you, and beating up the various times that you have to hit more and more. That was all the fighting goes. That was all the battle goes, right?
Yeah. It's just trying to avoid all the attack, because he'll hit the ground and spikes will come up where you are. He'll shoot like some kind of laser blast thing at you. I kind of wish that he would, since he has a body, it's the second time in the series that he gets a body, and it's way bigger than the original one from Twinsanity. I was thinking, oh, maybe he'll like come up to you and start trying to punch you or slam the ground and like try and slam down on you with his fist. He doesn't do any of that. He just stands in place and attacks you from afar.
It's just range attacks, basically.
It's still an okay fight. It's tough as shit. I remember Uka Uka's fight and Nina's fight are the only ones where I have to have my brother come on and tag team with me. No pun intended. So we can go ahead and like use the co-op to defeat them, because it's hard on my own. I think I've beaten them both on my own before, but it was very difficult. And having my brother with me, having two players in general, makes it go by a little bit faster and a little more easier, because you can get more done. You can cover more ground with the Titans, and you can potentially like double your chances basically at being able to knock out the boss, so you can go ahead and take control of them. So it makes it easier.
Well, whatever you would think about Titans or Man of a Mutant or Tag Team Racing or any other Crash game, I think we can all agree that Boom Bang is objectively the worst. I mean, the only thing I think it's been a long while I've ever touched Boom Bang, but I think the only but if there's one thing I do like, it's like the Japanese anime aesthetic, like naturally because it was made in Japan. Like
Yeah.
I kind of like the graphics, but that's kind of it. I do remember one mini game, like you know that mini game, like you were parachuting, like you would have like to tap the touchscreen. I
think so.
Touchscreen, like to deploy the parachute, and for me it never worked. I tapped as much as I could and never recognized it. I just plummet to the ground. Like I bet if you somehow got 4 people in local play to play this game with 4 DSs, and it goes to that video game, I bet everyone will lose. It would just be a draw. I bet that.
Oh my god. That game was just very forgettable. Like, it was just like, I like how people call Crash Bash a Mario Party clone. No, this is a Mario Party clone because you got the game board,
that one
the spaces.
Yeah, this one had the actual game board, and I don't think it was really good game boards.
But
like, I think the whole game the whole game board structure was weird.
It can be. It depends on what kind of game you're playing. Like there's Wii Party, Pac-Man Fever. There are a bunch of different. There was it Fortune Street? I think is one of them. There are a bunch of game board style party games that are very strange.
Yep. Yeah, but what I mean by weird, I don't mean like had a structure different from Mario Party. I meant weird as in it doesn't seem to make any sense because from what I've seen recently, it actually doesn't make any sense. And you don't even have to win. Actually, there's one thing I do remember vividly from Boom Bang. It was that one item, like it allowed you to switch clothes with anybody on the board. Like you would switch clothes. Like if I was Crash and I used that item with a pinstripe, I would then get pinstriped clothes. Like I wonder if anyone actually, yeah, it's actually an item. I'm sure it's an item that exists, and I wonder if anyone have actually datamined the game and find the textures relating to that item. Like if they really did like the full combination of different outfits per character with that item. I wonder if they actually did that.
I don't know.
I really want that to be a thing. If anyone is an hacker in the Crash community and is watching this podcast,
yeah,
please do it. Do it.
Tell us in the comments.
Do it. Yeah.
Let us know how that endeavor goes.
I think that concludes that question of least favorite Crash game. Can we move on?
Yeah. So, favorite Crash game was Crash 2. Least favorite is Crash Tag Team Racing. Those are pretty solid answers. Okay, so the next question I have is, what were you doing in that 8-year gap where there was just no Crash game from around 2009 to 2016 before we got the announcement at E3 that Crash was returning? In that gap, what were you doing to fill the time? Were you wondering where Crash was? Were you catching up on the rest of the games you never got to play? Were you discovering other franchises that you ended up loving or hating? Like, what was your gaming life around that time?
Yeah, I don't think in the first period of that huge gap, like since between 2019 to 2013, I tried to move on to other things. I was trying to catch up to series that I didn't revisit often or I didn't give a chance before.
Yeah.
I think the big franchise I moved on to, like I jumped to at that point with Sonic, because you would come to realize there's a bit of similarities between the two. Like they're both about like an anthropomorphic animal going against like a mad scientist and some sort of like conflict between nature and technology. They have a they have a like Brainiac sidekick. They both have a Brainiac sidekick with this, like kind of this sibling like relationship, even though like in one cases they're literally siblings. Yeah, stuff like that. And it's normal, and that's kind of normal because Sonic is naturally one of the inspirations for Crash. That and Donkey Kong Country and the all the cartoons that were found in the 90s, like Animaniacs, Picking the Brain, Looney Tunes, Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yeah, those three things. And yeah, I think I went into this little Sonic craze because I have this weird obsession with the Saturday morning cartoon, like from the 93. It was the one with Sally Acorn. I have this weird obsession with it.
Yeah.
To the point I actually had like some sort of initiative, like to translate the episodes in English with French subtitles because it did have a French dub, but it wasn't available on DVD. Only one or two episodes were found online with that dub. So I did that initiative with a bunch of people like to do the subtitles, but I never went that all the way through. So yeah, and then I went to go a few games. I emulated like the original Genesis games. I got Sonic Adventure on PC. I actually recall that my little brother was a fan of Sonic, like a real fan of Sonic before I was. But then at the moment where I put Sonic Adventure on the PC, and then he looked at it all excited, and we went to play. Like, he become disillusioned, like it's all gone in him, and he's lost all interest. And let's say I picked up from where he left off. So at that point, then I checked Sonic 4, like Sonic 4 Episode 1, like on the iOS. I had the iPod Touch at the time. Then I went to play Sonic Generation. I played a bunch of Sonic Generation on the Xbox 360. Yeah, I think that at that period, that were what I was into. That and revisiting some series I didn't give much of a chance. But then in 2013, I had this epiphany. Like, I was visiting some like message boards on the official Xbox forum, and there's happened to this one board, like they're discussing the possibility of what if Crash Bandicoot could be an Xbox exclusive, and then you will have to answer yeah. I don't think it was actually that, but it was something like that about Crash on Xbox, and it was one of the replies that said, I don't think so. Like Crash Bandicoot is more associated with the PlayStation. It's more associated with Sony. And then I thought, yeah, he's right. What if Sony had the chance to handle Crash again? Like, I knew they never actually owned the IP. Naughty Dog didn't own the IP. Sony didn't own the IP, but they did a lot more with it. Like Sony, they published it and they marketed it, and they gave a lot of the attention and interacted more with the Naughty Dog devs that Universal was, yet they had the ownership of the IP. And then I thought, given that Activision wasn't doing anything with it and actually didn't even acknowledge it at the time, and I was like, why don't they just give it away? Why don't they give it to Sony or something? And then I did this petition in June 2013. It was this thing, Sony bring back Crash. I have this petition on gopetition.net, and I made a Facebook page, and thus started when I was majorly involved. Like I was majorly involved in the Crash Bandicoot community for the first time, because I was aware of the Crash community on the internet, but I was only an observant. Like I only saw, like, checking Crash Mania on almost daily basis. If it was on
Yeah.
another site, like it was in French, but it was not. It didn't have. It didn't have good layout at all, but it kind of copy pasted the many of the content of Crash Mania, but translated them in French. In that regard, it's kind of cool. And I did check some fan animation, mainly from Terror Cross. I think you would know Outcast Bandicoots. Yeah,
Oh, yep. I remember that.
yeah, yeah. I was mainly an observant, but that moment when I decided to do that, in hindsight, stupid petition about Sony bring back Crash, when I started to interact with other fans, where I actually went to bring my opinions openly to the community, like to the whole world about Crash, where I tried to interact with like the major player in the community. That's where it all started, what I think. And
Yeah.
this is also where that's also where I met some friends. Like there was this guy. I'm still subscribed to him, and I'm still a friend with him. We messaged a few times. It's called Izra. Like I came across him, like it was a bit of a troll. Like he says whatever I did, it was like shit. It was pointless. But I reached out to him, and surprisingly, it was pretty cool. And at one point, I proposed that he could be the co-admin of the Facebook page. And then he did it for the longest time. He stayed that way until, like, there was a lot of heated discussion that discouraged him. And he gracefully, I wouldn't say that, but he left his position as co-admin, and I was okay with that. And right now, sadly, he lost all the interest in Crash. So yeah,
Oh.
sad.
Oh, no.
Oh. And then there's do you know this guy? It's called Old Classic Gamer.
Oh, yeah, I know him. I know about him.
Yeah, he was also a co-admin at one point. Like he's kind of succeeded to Isra. At one point, I was kind of discouraged about this whole initiative. So there was a brief period I left, like managing the Facebook page and the petition. So at that point, Old Classic Gamer, like I wish I knew his real name. Maybe he brought up to me, but I only know him for a pseudonym. Yeah, he was the sole admin of that page at the time. Then this was the time I came back. And yeah, and when, that moment in E3 2016, which I was unfortunate to not see it live because I live in Europe, and when Sony was doing E3, like in that time zone, it was always 3 a.m. and was that unfortunate time when I didn't think like to stay up at night. I didn't think about doing that.
Yeah.
And I did stay up at night for the E3 2015 one. So yeah. So at that point we changed the Facebook page to Crash. Almost came back to Sony because the whole thing about the inclusion in Skylanders and Insane Trilogy was kind of an agreement with Sony. Like Insane would be a timed exclusive to PS4. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but in reality it does not. And we made this little video, like it was an open letter to Vicarious Vision, like resembling some of my and his and like our followers' opinions or suggestions more about what could be included in that remake. And that was my first experience, like doing some real major editing and publishing it for real on YouTube. Like when I put significant effort into video editing, because ever since I was a kid, I always had fun with video editors. I screwed around a lot with Movie Maker, like mixing like not really mixed, but like taking a bunch of video files and compile them. I did a lot with cutscenes from the Worms games. I did that.
Nice.
Yeah. But that open letter thing, that open letter to Vicarious Visions video, which it's on, I don't know if, yeah, I believe it is one channel that I left abandoned. It's sitting on that account like as an unlisted video, but yeah. So yeah, I did that open letter to Vicarious Vision. That my first experience in video editing in Vegas Pro. I can confirm that. And yeah, but then shortly after that, I realized that the whole initiative petition based initiative didn't make sense anymore. So I changed what was at that point Sony Crash almost came back to Sony to the WumpaGem. It was like this outlet purely dedicated to Crash news.
Yeah.
Then like in 2018 I then changed to the WumpaGem. Yeah, and I was treated with Spyro stuff. Yeah. And then it's September 2019 because that was an outlet when I tried to have like multiple people getting involved. At the end of the day, I was the only one, so I abandoned the whole outlet idea and I just absorbed the whole WumpaGem like entity into myself. I just dropped the and I'm just become as WumpaGem. And while I still talk about a lot about Crash and I will talk plenty about Spyro, I would more so consider myself as far as my Twitter account is concerned, I would consider myself as a generalist. I didn't pronounce it that right, but I'm more into general stuff. Like I'm not only Crash and only Spyro. I can talk about other gaming. I can talk and discuss and cover and analyze other games other than those two series. And yeah.
Damn.
And yeah, and then finally the final step to where I am now is with Montreal, who's handling the Crashy News blog, and I become close friend with him. Like he made that one post where he asked publicly if anyone would help him into setting up Crashy News to a YouTube channel. And I replied with a gif of Peter Griffin and was going like, oh. And then we started discussing and then we started establishing things. And so I was assigned the video editor at first. And Montreal, he was supposed to be writing the scripts, but he was too busy with his studies. So I was also designated the main writer, and he would be the script editor, like checking if anything seems right. And so I wrote the video. We had a voice narrator at that time. We have a new one now. He has yet to come into the limelight, but yeah, like he did the voice. Then I picked up the clips and started editing the video. And this is where I was with my main role at Crashy News, being the co-manager of the YouTube channel. And with the first video publishing in February of this year, when we discussed about the data mining of, I think was the Rustland Grand Prix? No, it wasn't that. I think it was more like the Gex Moxian. Yeah, the Gex Moxia Grand Prix. That was that.
Sweet. Oh my god, what a freaking origin story, man. within
I came a long way.
within finding getting into Sonic and doing all of that. Wow, that's nice. So it was relatively recent. Like the WumpaGem part of it and like everything else kind of just came as you were starting to establish your online presence. You didn't like have an idea of that stuff already. It kind of just started to happen, and it just
Yeah.
rolled from there basically.
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. And to think that that happened in that gap, a lot of people, myself included, rose from that gap because as far as, I'm not going to recount my whole story because I've done that in a couple podcasts already, but as far as I go, I was hearing a bunch of news and hearing a bunch of buzz around 2013, 2014 about crash rumors and teases. I didn't start covering it on this channel until 2015, the very end of 2015 at that. And because it was starting to happen a lot more frequently, a lot more like a lot faster and faster. And so the more stuff that was being teased by different PlayStation divisions on Twitter, or the more teaser little things we would get, like whenever someone that was a big Sony affiliate would post something, anything, and we saw Crash, and it wasn't some troll or some just random fan, showing their love, which is obviously fine too, but to see someone official show Crash, we were just like, oh, like, is something happening? And it was happening more frequently to the point where it was like, okay, they're doing something, they're up to something, they're clearly trying to get us riled up, and hopefully it's not for, no reason, because if it's a red herring, then what was the point of trying to hype us up just to let us down? And I started covering a bunch of news around 2015, and that's when I finally decided, found the direction I wanted to take the channel, because at that point, from I think 2012 until 2015, I just kind of did whatever on my channel. I tried doing some gameplay videos and some other stuff, and certain things never came to fruition and whatever else. But then I finally was like, well, I want to do discussion videos and top 5 and 10 videos and whatnot. And that's where that took off. The rest is history from there. But in terms of Crash stuff, 2015 was where it was at. And then I lost my shit. I did catch it live. My live reaction is still up on the channel. It's one of the, it's not the, in terms of my reaction videos, it's not the most viewed or I guess even popular reaction videos. It is up there though, definitely, because it was just such a legendary moment, and it was a crazy moment for me in particular as well. But
damn, I wish I was there.
The energy, man, it was fucking real. You could feel the energy even before the announcement. We were all thinking something's gonna go down, and I was with one of my friends, G-Man Rocks, on a call with him, and we were tuning in together, and then sure enough, you hear the orchestra play the theme, and I was like, oh my god, what? And, oh, man, so good. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I wish I was there live. Yeah.
It was some good stuff. But I think we're up to the final question now. So if you're ready to do, speaking of getting hyped, if you're ready, my final question is, how excited are you for Crash 4 It's About Time, and what aspects are you looking forward to the most? What are your overall thoughts and opinions? And if you play the demo, what did you think of that?
I don't know if my words would actually represent my level of excitement I would have. Let's just sum it up with one phrase. I have waited 12 years and now it's about time. But
yes.
Really, I do have a few concerns, I did saw a few persons discuss various elements of they didn't, different elements, they didn't click with them, and in my mind I kind of agreed. I was this little yikes, but it wouldn't happen. It would happen rarely, but otherwise, I'm very optimistic because, if it felt when I heard that Toys for Bob will be the lead developer of this game, of Crash 4, kind of caught me off guard because, many, I mainly saw them as the Spyro guys, and the fact they're involved kind of brings up some more question on where that Spyro mainline game, whenever probably next year, is gonna who is going to handle that, but yeah, I kind of accepted that Toys for Bob could be involved in the art because they did, like, it wasn't exactly perfect, but I would definitely say in terms of visuals, of art direction, and how they executed, like it could fit the level design of such a way. Yeah, mainly visuals, art direction. I think they did a wonderful job with the Spyro Reignited trilogy, and
Oh yeah.
there's definitely like key aspects, mainly about the fact that a lot of the model's environment relies on soft gradients like Spyro. That's mainly a key aspect that links them both.
Yeah.
I actually really dig the the new designs for the most part. I really I really dig how Crash looks, how Coco looks, how Dingodile looks, how those environments, how they kind of look like kind of wonky. Like you can see, like it's a mix of Joe Pearson and like the radical era Titans. Like also this, it's a mix of the curly, radical era mixed with the wonkiness of Pearson art style, and
Yeah.
plus mixed with the soft gradients of the recent art style that Toys for Bob found with Reignited. It looked amazing. It looked really good. But
Yes.
it's mainly the fact that in the context, because like people like to have debates on before this game came to light, when it was discussing of when what would Crash do after the remake craze will end. What it should do? Should it pick up after Monovu Mutant and do the beat 'em up stuff, which is unlikely, or should it like make another attempt at the open-ended free roaming formula, because that's the most popular formula that developers takes when it comes to 3D platformers. You would see a lot of indie projects that it says they're mainly inspired by stuff like Banjo Kazooie. Is definitely like a popular direction to take.
Yeah.
And it would be nice. People say it would be nice to attempt that again with Twitterity and to some extent Mod of Mutant, because you have those intersecting levels that kind of seem like free roaming.
Yeah.
But then I have my own say that I'm okay if they try those things like the free roaming open-ended area. But as far as I'm concerned, as the first new thing that Crash should attempt will be to take back where the linear formula of the original trilogy, the good old breaking all the crates to get the gem, the jewel, like the rhythmic kind of the rhythmic pace, the fast pace. But instead of having corridors, like just be corridors, it should be a bit more open. You should have a bit more wiggle room,
Yeah.
like kind of like a 3D world. And I think, in some extent, it's there with Crash 4. Like when you break it down, like to the bare basics, it's still mostly corridors, but there's definitely some parts of it. You do have that wiggle room. I'm thinking about that part in No Way Out, where you would have to jump into the ice platforms that are are moving down the river, and the rest is mostly felt with the open vistas, mainly through the art. It does seem more open than it actually is, but it's a direction I was anticipating. That I was suggesting, and that's almost like they did here. And I'm really glad they did, because there's a lot of value in despite the fact that not many developers would take direct inspiration of Crash, of that formula, it still has a lot of value to it, I would think. it still has a lot of value. It still have a lot of interest. You could even say that linear format is what defines Crash in terms of gameplay, rather than having do like the others do the open-ended free roaming formula and blend it to the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a main thing of why I'm really looking forward to Crash 4. It's almost like they're taking a direction I was anticipating that I was wanting them to do first. And that's what they did. And there's tons of things after that adds up, that adds to my excitement, like multiple different characters with different abilities. Like you could play as Cortex again, though but it's a lot more puzzly with the laser gun. It's pretty neat. You can play as Dingodon, which I think, it's definitely not the first time. The like Cortex is already a villain, but it's the first time like you would play as one of Cortex henchmen, mutant henchmen. You could play as him now, Dingodon, and then you have Tana. like when I saw that leak with the merchandise, I was a little output, but accepted that there could be like a story context of why that is. Now that it's revealed, I kind of accept it. I accept this Tana, this alternate dimension punk Tana, even if it's not my favorite. I really like it, but it's not what. If I brought back that character, it's not necessarily that design I would bring. But yeah, Tana. It really feels weird to think like playable Tana. Like looking at that gameplay, it still feels kind of surreal. Yeah, especially with the kind of design she has. But the fact she plays this more proactive role, that they actually attempt to establish a natural personality in the story. When she was a relatively obscure character until that point, I kind of reminded of Pauline now. She was integrated in Mario Odyssey. In fact,
Yeah.
you could say that Crash Bandicoot 4 is that It's About Time looks pretty much to be the Super Mario Odyssey of the Crash series.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, yeah. And I really do hope that I do hope. I'm definitely certain, but in case I'm not some. Yep. I don't know what I'm
You're
saying.
so excited. You're so excited.
I'm excited, and I really do hope it lives up to the expectations.
Yeah.
It lives up to, because, like, as far as I'm concerned, like the original trilogy is where it peaked, and the following mainline games, and I mean specifically that because you could say that there was not Nitro, like Nitro Cut, it has pretty good art direction, and the GBA games are actually great, but like the mainline games after the Naughty Dog era, like Wrath of Cortex, Twinsanity, Titans, Mount of Immune, none of them actually. I don't think they reach that level nearly as high as any of them for different each for different reasons. Excuse me if I'm repeating myself, because I've been talking a lot, and yeah, I don't.
You're good, man. You're good.
Yeah. To take back to the beginning what I said, I think that's where the original trilogy peaked, and the rest that followed afterwards, each for different reasons, didn't live up to the same level. I think they're 5 out of 10 on how I feel them.
Mm-hmm.
So this kind of expectations I'm setting myself in with It's About Time, where it will be the first time where a Crash game is actually great, and it's not at the beginning part of the franchise history. Like, it's a new thing that followed way after, but it's considered great. I consider it great. Many of the fans consider it great. Like, the public consider it great. The critics, etc. Like, we prove that it's about time. We'll prove that Crash can be great beyond the beginnings. Like, this quote that Jason Rubin threw down, like, at the Coliseum in E3 2017, and
Yes.
it's actually a pretty accurate quote, and it's about whatever Crash could live up in the modern landscape without relying on nostalgia, and nostalgia that being capitalizing specifically on the past works with the original trilogy and CTR. That's mainly what he meant. I agree with that, and I hope for Crash 4 that it proves that Crash can live up to the modern gaming space, that it can prove that it can be great again after its already great beginnings. Like, it can reach a new peak.
Yes.
That's what I'm expecting for Crash 4. And I would say I'm pretty confident it could reach that. Or even if it doesn't, I have no problem betting that it would easily be my favorite post Naughty Dog game. But It's About Time will be my favorite post Naughty Dog game. That I feel that I just played the demo, of course. I didn't play the full game, but everything that I saw and from what I tried, I feel pretty confident to front that claim, at least.
Yeah. Actually, fun fact, I was there when Jason Rubin said that quote. I participated. I was in the audience for that E3 Coliseum talk, and it was very, very enlightening. And yes, that particular quote I myself have used in a couple videos regarding Crash's future, because that was the one thing when I heard it live, it stuck with me, and it completely rings true today. And back then, when it was just Insane, and he said that, it was very telling, because yeah, no one knew what the future was going to hold if Crash can hold up with everything else today past the nostalgic remasters. So my whole point of making a couple of videos, namely the Comeback Saga videos, my whole point was to be like, okay, well, let's celebrate that we have him back and not criticize him so harshly, because a lot of it is unnecessary and just very pointed at certain things about, Insane in particular. And then I was like, okay, so Insane is Insane. Nitro Fueled comes out, and I go, oh, okay, so now they're adding in elements from post Naughty Dog games into a remake of a Naughty Dog game. I'm like, okay, well, if they're going to do that, then that opens up the gate for so many things, and this could potentially open up the gate for a brand new Crash game afterwards. So when they start introducing that stuff into the new Crash game, newcomers who don't know the series like we do won't be confused as to what all that stuff is, because they'll think, well, that wasn't an Insane trilogy, what is all this stuff? And if they're not familiar with anything that came before the big hiatus, they're not going to know. But Nitro Fueled effectively alleviated all of that by adding in so many characters, so many nods and references and things. Even though we'll get them and the newcomers might not, they'll at least get to see at the base level these new characters and go, oh, whoa, these guys are cool. And then we get to say, oh, well, they're from this game, they're from this game, they're from that game. And that's really, really cool. And now with Crash 4, yeah, we're seeing elements from different Crash games come in, while the groundwork for the platforming and the main gameplay is still lifted from the old games, but expanded upon and made a bit more fresh. And while that was a direction I wasn't necessarily thinking that they were going to take, and in some kind of degree even thought they should take, I am very, very, very satisfied with what we're seeing for Crash 4. And even calling it Crash 4, I made a video called my stance on a true, quote unquote, Crash 4 and a true Spyro 4. Because people were saying, yeah, if they make a Crash 4 and a Spyro 4, they'll be so much better than Wrath of Cortex and Enter the Dragonfly, and they'll just crap all over those games, and those games don't need to exist. And I'm like, well, okay. I'm like,
yeah, I see what I mean.
Yeah.
And I see still that belief from various reviewers that like the Crash 4 is going to retcon all the post Naughty Dog games that they were using that clips of the trailer, like that little cute joke where Nally and Lily is questioning if they fought Cortex more than 3 times.
Yeah.
They thought it was like a mean jab, but no, it's just a little cute wall break. And when you see like that interview that Polian did to Canadian Guy A, that yes, Crash 4 would pick up directly after Warped, but given
everything else is canon.
It's about the multiverse, we're going to visit different dimensions, different point in time. There's possible references, but there may be possible references to post Naughty Dog games. And as far as they're concerned, the developers at Toys for Bob, those events did happen. So I'm kind of annoyed that they throw down this, when these reviewers and journalists throw down that retcon, there's true all those games, when really not. It kind of does retcon with the fact they fall directly afterward, but at the same time, it doesn't close the door on that.
Yeah.
It doesn't close the door on the post Naughty Dog stuff. In fact, you would see like in fact, we found out with the flashback tapes, like the flashback levels, like you would see crunch on the screens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus his name is on the fridge they have at the front of their house in Insanity Beach. So there's little tiny references here and there, yeah.
But I think the timeline, I think the flashback levels, like the screen and flashback levels, is a little more telling of that, because crunch, or like the letters on the fridge, it's more like just a cute Easter egg. It's not very much telling, just a little cute thing. Someone just replied to like a chat room. I mean, it's the Crashy News chat room we set in with Maltura and various people to keep up progress of our videos. There's that ping there. I just heard it twice.
Yeah, but to go back real quick to your comment about how Crash 4 can essentially be seen as the Mario Odyssey of the Crash series, I actually wholeheartedly agree with that, because there were a couple of moments, I think even in past Bandicast, that I made a reference to that, where I said, just like with Mario Odyssey when that game was still really brand new. Funny enough, Odyssey and Insane came out the same year, so I got to play both of them at E3. Mario Odyssey was a really cool case with the Mario series, because I, for one, as a Mario fan, was hoping, like, okay, I was like, yeah, 3D Land, 3D World, those are cool games, but they still have this very safe, child-friendly, blocky Mario 3, Mario World-inspired art style. I'd like to see something a little bit different. I'd like to see some kind of explorative Mario game like Galaxy or something again. And so this comes out, and I go, whoa, this is like exactly what I wanted. We've got a different, really nice art style. We've got these big, expansive worlds. They're very open. But the thing that I wanted to mention is that with every trailer we saw, from the very first one up to, like, I think a couple, there was the trailer that showed off the game, there was the E3 2017 trailer, and there might have been one more. There were a couple showcases and a few Nintendo Directs. And every time there was a presentation for Mario and a trailer for Odyssey, they would always withhold something really big that is a part of the gameplay. And then when we would see it, there was always something new and fresh and different to show off that was a big part of the game that we never knew about, previously. So like For example, the first trailer comes out and it's okay, new Mario game number 1. Number 2, there's these big open worlds, and then you can throw Mario's hat, and he's alive at the end of the trailer. And then second trailer comes out for E3. Here's the capture mechanic. A huge part of the game, but we didn't know that was going to be a thing. We just saw a bunch of characters with Mario's hat and mustache with no context back. Or no. Rather, we saw the trailer for the new Mario game when they showed it off.
The reveal trailer in January 25th, 2017.
Yes.
That's what you're referring to?
Yes. So there was that. And then, which we had no clue that the capture mechanic was a thing. We just thought, you can run and jump around as Mario, as you always can. He can use his hat to platform. That's different. That's cool. And that's all we knew. It could have just been that. We would have had an equal amount of fun time with it as the final game ended up being. Then, E3 2017, we got Cappy, like the official reveal, that's who he is, and the capture mechanic. And that was a big point in the gameplay. And so every time something would come out for Odyssey, it was always something really cool that they showed off and revealed that made it super hype and super fun. And with Crash 4, we get that first initial reveal trailer, and it's like, okay, it's time travel. Awesome. Next reveal, you get some new characters, and it's like, okay, that's freaking sweet. You get Dingodile, you get the state of play stuff, the timeline levels and all that stuff, and the inverted levels. So I was like, oh wow, that's crazy and different and new. And then you get Tawna, and then it's like, oh, okay, and you got the flashback tapes. So like every time they would show something off, it was always something way different, something new, and very, very enticing. It kept adding to the hype. There was never more of the same, as it were. They would always have something new to show for every presentation, which was so cool.
Yeah, I see what you mean. They take a basic, the basis of a formula that worked in the past. Like with Crash, it's the hallway linear thing, and Mario, it's the sandbox 3D open-headed roaming thing they introduced with Mario 64. Here they bring it back with Odyssey.
Yeah,
they have the basis of that formula, and then after they would reveal a bunch of new mechanics, of new ideas, and that mixes in with some cool comebacks to the past. Callbacks or not, they didn't have that much attention to that. That's definitely what. I think we kind of are kindred spirits on how we felt about that. Yeah, I would agree. That's mainly. Yeah, I think I already touched upon that earlier.
No, but Crash 4 is hype. I am so excited. And I guess we'll go ahead and date this podcast, but we're actually filming this the day that the launch trailer dropped. And so many good things were so many things were showed off in that trailer.
Well, mainly two new things. Polar, he's back.
Polar.
And there's one of the skins is a low poly retro homage to the PS1 game. Yeah, there's that. Yeah. But really, it's really just how the thing it's edited. There's that music choice. It really refuels that hype feeling again. By the way, when that podcast is over, I gotta go back to that trailer and then watch it over and over again.
Getting to hear Tropy speak and seeing that he does have a plan behind the scenes. I think some people were saying, I forgot who it was, but some people were saying that, I guess Cortex and Entropy are going to overthrow Uka Uka and do their own plan. And I was like, well, seeing that you get to play as Cortex in a bunch of different areas and he himself is dimension hopping just like Crash and Coco, I think that Tropy and Uka Uka kicked Cortex off to the side so they can do their own thing. Because Tropy looks like he's got something devious going on behind the scenes. That coupled with that feminine Entropy looking character who we don't know who that is, but they keep teasing in a couple little promo image stuff. I like my whole theory is that is his own kind of race of people who are also time masters. So like maybe he's trying to find them so they can team up and just cause more havoc to the multiverse. Like that's my theory for what the plot is, and I think that's what Entropy is going to do overall. And Cortex just has no room in that plan, so he's going to kick him to the curb. I think he just needs him to build that device they keep showing them building. I think he's using Cortex's prowess of building devices to build it for him, and then he'll probably use it to go find others of his kind so they can, destroy shit together.
Yeah, speaking of Entropy, and that shot of the trailer, and you did say that he looks a lot more involved, he looks like he's well, as he has like the main villain spot here this time again after like he already did in Strands. But
Yeah.
one thing I noticed that like in this trailer, like it does sound really different from anything he sounded like before. Like that's clearly not Corey Byrne. And I think I hear someone online that suggested it could be Troy Baker.
That would be cool.
I can definitely believe that. It kind of does sound like him. Like the one thing about Troy Baker, like I remember like a voice I remember specifically of Troy Baker that's still in my mind. It's like when he voiced the Joker in that crossover between Batman and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it kind of has that tone deep within. I kind of feel that, and I think that's where I can see the connection here.
Okay.
Actually, it's by the way, it's really weird that at that point we don't have like a confirmed voice cast, like a confirmed English voice cast for this game yet. I mean, they didn't do it for Nitro Fueled either. Though it was cool, like in the credits, they actually indicated which actor actually voiced who. But in terms of the marketing, that was only done in Insane Trilogy, and then there's now tons of people are suspecting that Jets Arnold may or may not be Crash. Personally, I still feel that it's him, just a slightly different direction. He already took a different direction with Insane, trying to emulate Brendan O'Brien.
Yeah.
But now this like Coco, it's confirmed that Debbie Deverberry doesn't reprise the role here. When she confirmed it on Twitter, she thought that people were referring to the mobile game, and she clarified it's not her in Crash 4.
Yeah. Which you can clearly tell. You can clearly tell when you listen to her in that Tana cutscene.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we did we pretty much turned around the whole thing. I think we're done.
There's been so many good conversations, so many great opinions thrown out there and discussed. Yeah, man. To conclude everything, I am just really hyped. I'm glad, obviously, you are too, and so many others are either going into this being cautiously optimistic, being very curious to see where this goes, and some of us are just really, really hyped. So, yeah, those are all the questions. Thank you so much for being an awesome guest. This has been very fun, and before we go, I do this at the end of every podcast. Go ahead and plug yourself. What do you have going on? What are you working on? And what stuff do you do outside of this?
Well, first off, I want to throw my thanks. Thank you for inviting me. It was an honor.
Yeah, thanks for applying.
In terms of plugging things, I guess I could say that go check out the Crashy News channel. Go check it out. Go watch all videos, or try to put them out as fast as possible because it's a team effort and it takes a long time. But yeah, Go watch our videos. Many people, they'll tell you they are very good. Please check the channel. Crashy News YouTube. Go check that out. Yeah.
Also, you can find WumpaGem on Twitter if you're curious to see what opinions he's got going on in terms of Crash, Spyro, and other stuff. Because that's how I remember we really connected, was through Twitter.
Yeah, that too. But
go check out Crash News. But yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Keep going.
Oh, I was just going to end the podcast.
I was going to throw a little bye-bye.
Thank you so much, WumpaGem, for coming on to the Bandicast. It was awesome talking to you and getting to hear your side of the story of stuff that you are excited for Crash 4, stuff you've played for the rest of the series, and how you got your start. It's always awesome to hear how all these guests got their start. And, yeah, really fun discussions. So, again, thank you very much. Thank you guys listening to this for doing so. And until next time, I'm Mark.
Good night, everybody.
And that's WumpaGem. We'll see you guys later. Take care. Thanks for listening.